Trentino.
Word association for Trentino. I think apples.
Festa.
Famiglia.
Heritage.
So Trentino is family.
Family.
Proud.
Trentino mountains.
Mountains.
Trentino is beautiful.
Heritage.
Family.
My father.
Immigrant, brave.
Avventura.
Nonni.
My nono.
Immigrant. Ancestors.
Ships.
Of people coming up from the south, so illegal aliens from Mexico or Guatemala.
New life.
My family.
Struggles.
Suffrage.
Like someone leave, right? Yeah. Guy who leaves. Immigrant.
United States, I think of home.
U.S., home.
United States. I don't know. Just a place.
U.S. Not fun.
Home.
It's home.
Homeland.
Italy.
Freedom.
Emotions, calm.
Contento.
Nonno.
Happiness.
Emotion. Everything is emotion.
Confidence.
Happiness.
Emotion, I think of love.
Being.
Happiness.
Happy.
Happiness.
Past history.
Storia.
The old ways.
Childhood.
Future.
Past. My nona.
Adventure.
Reflection.
Past, tradition.
Forgettable.
Ancestors.
My grandfather.
Sadness.
The past is like so rich. Like there's so much that comes from the past that why I'm here today.
American culture is.
Certainly football, hamburgers, and cowboys are a part of American culture, but it's not all of it, and it depends on the area that you are.
In this region, definitely cowboys, ranchers, and then football is everywhere. Beer, cheeseburgers, cars. Yes, lots of people like their cars.
In New York, there's a variety of other things that are part of our culture. In Virginia, there's a very strong attachment to the Civil War. So, for example, there's a lot of things. Guns are a big deal in America. That's part of American culture, but not so much part of New York culture. So, there you go.
The borrowing of many of the cultures that came, and there's a lot of different influences, and I think that makes a really good what they call a melting pot, because it's just this huge group of people that came from everywhere. And we all have something to provide, something to promote, and something to carry forward from our heritage. And we're all very proud of it.
Canadian culture is multicultural because Canada is not a melting pot like America is. Canada is known as a cultural mosaic. So people who come to Canada, they bring their own culture and work together, and everyone likes to learn about each other's culture. So I was actually, as a white person, I was a minority in my school growing up. And the best part of that was I didn't know it. I had no concept of racism. And I think that really defines Canadian culture.
Growing up here in American culture, I grew up in a little cowboy town, so I definitely grew up shit kicking, as you would say, and riding horses and cows, and that's a big part of the Southwest. We definitely love our hamburgers a little bit too much, perhaps. We're very sports oriented, I think, because that's the only thing that we really have that's ours as an American.
American culture, to me, is pathetic. There's no culture, there's no value, there's no traditions here. I feel like, of course, in the United States, everything is Americanized. People don't hold on to their roots like they should, I feel. So I think American culture is sad and pathetic.
American culture.
The American culture to me means, oh gosh,
it's not as good as the Italian culture. Personally, that's how I feel. American culture is, in some places, I guess it depends where you're from, but for me, being from New York, American culture is very fast. Everything is fast. And so that's why in Italy it's more so people take time to appreciate. Where in America, I feel like things are done so fast and you don't see the little things, the beauty, the small things that, you know, make the whole picture. So I think for me, the word to describe it is fast, and I don't know, there are so many gaps. I think there are gaps in the American culture, and it's unfortunate, but that's how I feel. Sorry, America.
American culture to me, maybe it's you know, having dinner at night with your family and then watching Jeopardy at 7 o'clock and then Wheel of Fortune at 7:30, like we do every night in my family. That's what I would say my American culture would be, and just keeping our Italian tradition and what we do.
I don't really know. I have ideas about like what other cultures mean, but I never really thought about my American culture, just because it has never really interested me as much as other cultures, just because I think since I grew up in it and it's been just my life in general, I just didn't think too much about it.
I don't know, not as impressive as some other cultures. I think it seems to be a lot of social garbage sometimes.
In Canada, we like to describe our culture as a mosaic. So rather than mixing all the elements, they're all displayed individually, but together they form a bigger picture. So Canadian culture is essentially the culture of all the immigrants that came to Canada. So Trentino culture, French culture, Chinese culture, Indian culture, wherever in the world they came from, there's little hubs of culture you can find anywhere. That being said, Canada has a bit of its own culture as well. Hockey's a big cultural sport. There's certain expressions or ways of going about doing things, ways that we hang out that differ from the United States. But I would say that what we pride ourselves on the most and is sort of the essential or the cardinal quality of Canadian culture is diversity.
American culture means pride and freedom, and I know that sounds so generic, but you know, our ancestors came here to be free from whatever it is. And while, you know, Trentini weren't persecuted, you know, my family came here because we were poor and they wanted us to be successful. And they decided, you know, they didn't want to have children in poverty and have it continue that their children in poverty and I would be in poverty. They came here and they made sure that my mother and her siblings were successful. They had them go to college. They made sure they had jobs. And they provided for them even when they could not have anything. And that legacy came down to my parents, where my parents sacrificed things for their children as well.